UFC 305, Plessis versus Adesanya. I'm going to look down the entire card for the winners and the losers and decide who had the best performances of the entire card and who had the worst performances of the entire card. The first guy that's going in the automatic S tier is so obvious, and it is my man Carlos Prates, who went out there and freaking looked amazing, dominating Li Jingliang in 2 rounds and knocking him out. Li Jingliang has never been knocked out a single time in his MMA career, in his UFC career. I mean, and he's been a veteran of MMA, of the UFC for so long and hasn't been knocked down, and Carlos knocked him down like 4 times and ended up putting him away, knocking him out cold at the end of round number 2. I mean, what an impressive performance. Rightfully so. The UFC gave the man $50,000. I would have given him $100,000, but that's what the UFC said, so we're putting the man in S tier. He had an absolutely amazing performance. Israel Adesanya, are we going to go S tier? Yes, no, we're not. Come on, guys. Is he A tier? Is he B tier? Is he C? He's going to be a D tier right there. I mean, it wasn't the best performance. He had his moments, but he wasn't doing well countering Dricus as he was coming in. His takedown defense was very, very solid, which is why I'm not going to have him at F tier, but it was because he was getting hurt by a few of the shots on Dricus on the feet, and then he was giving up his back, and Dricus was hopping on top of him and latching in the rear nakeds and things like that. A lot of bad mistakes made by Israel Adesanya. Of course, a lot of them had to do with the fact that the dude was gassed out of his mind in those later rounds, but still, I mean, he made so many mistakes, we can't have him at C tier or B tier, A tier, S tier. Gotta put him at D tier. It wasn't an absolutely abysmal performance that I have to put him at F tier, but a bad performance nonetheless. Then we got Tom Nolan. Tom Nolan, we're going to have to go C tier. It wasn't a great performance. A lot of people were expecting him to go out there and win a knockout. He lost a round on one of the judges' scorecards as the biggest favorite of the card. Didn't make it a super exciting fight, but it wasn't a super boring fight either. He got taken down a few times, which is why I'm not having him at B tier or A tier, but he's low C tier for me. It wasn't the best performance, but he had his moments in there for sure. Tai Bam Bam Tuivasa. Gonna go D tier with Adesanya. And I'm trying to think if he's better than Adesanya or worse, because he didn't get finished and somehow won a round on the judges' scorecards. I don't know how that's possible, so maybe we will move him just barely a hair above Israel Adesanya, just because somehow they gave him a round for no reason whatsoever. I still don't know how that's possible, but we'll put him above Israel Adesanya. There wasn't a great performance, got outstruck for 3 rounds, was still pressuring forward, was still leaving his life and shin on the line to come close that distance and look for the knockout, and that's why we got him a D tier. We'll have Jairzinho C tier. Main reason is he was really running a lot in that fight, and he did the Max Holloway, pointed down to the center of the octagon and then backed up. You can't do that. That ruins your performance for me. I mean, you played it smart, you played it technical, you let your hands go a few times, but again, I'm going to go back to that a lot. You pointed down to the center of the octagon, thought you were Max Holloway, and took a step back. Automatic below B tier. You're not getting up there, even if you knocked out Tai. The next round after that, you can't be doing that and disrespecting the Max Holloway name, ladies and gentlemen. So, C tier. For Jairzinho, Biggie Boy, Josh Culibao, he had his moments, but his F tier. What horrible fight IQ does Josh Culibao have? I mean, I know he wants to get the finish in round 1, but he lands the kick. He's hurting his opponents, lets him up again after a few good kicks on the leg, gets taken down, almost gets submitted, and then in round number 3 gets cut, gets taken down, and doesn't try to work back to his feet. Is just doing the little taps, thinking he got the win secured on the judges' scorecard. See, I mean, even Ramos didn't show any urgency there. So heck. Come on, guys. Ramos is F tier as well. Both of them, they put on a good fight. It was a fun back and forth battle. But round 3, none of them had urgency, which is the only reason I'm having both of them so low, is they had no urgency whatsoever to really do anything in round 3. After the takedown Ricardo Ramos got, it could have honestly gone either way at that point. So one of you needs to put a stamp on the round, and neither of you are doing so. Ricardo's landing little tap-taps. Josh Culibao what is he doing? He's landing little tap-taps. Try to get up, Culibao, and Ramos try to posture up and land ground and pound. You can't be coasting in round 3 when it's 1-1 and round 3 is really, really close. I mean, in all actuality, it wasn't really an F-tier performance by either of them, but I'm just saying it as kind of like a public service announcement that, god dang, round 3, you gotta let your hands go a little bit more. You gotta take some risks in order to win the round. As we saw, Josh didn't take the risk and ended up losing because of it. So F tier there. I hate it when round 3, they're not trying to put a stamp on the round when it is that close. You gotta do something to set yourself apart on the judges' scorecard. Sorry, I had to go on about that. Kai Kara France is S tier. Ladies and gentlemen, how much more of an impressive performance could he have against the guy a lot of people thought beat Alessandro Pantoja for the belts, and Kai went out there and freaking murked Steve Erceg in a round. That was absolutely insane. Knocked him down twice, finished him off with like a minute left in the round. Such an impressive performance by Kai Kara France. I would be doing him a disservice to have him at A tier, but the only reason I'll have him below Carlos Prates by just a little bit, not a crazy amount by any means, is just because Carlos Prates made it look easy, even in round 1, even in round 2. He went through a full 9-minute, 10-minute fight, and he was showboating a little bit. I mean, he was feeling himself out. He was looking loose. I mean, every time Lee threw something, he would dodge out of the way, do a little move. He was just feeling himself in there. Where Kai, I mean, he was mainly losing the beginning portions of the striking, and then he was able to catch Steve Erceg. So overall, the performances of both guys pretty solid, of course. But because Carlos had a longer fight and he just looks so much more impressive throughout it, knocking down the leech so many times when he's never been knocked out, I don't think anything tops Carlos Prates and his performance today. But both guys are the 50G performance of the night winners, and man, they both look really good. Steve Erceg, I'm gonna go F tier, man. I mean, the chin up, and then didn't exit the pocket fast enough. And I know, Steve Erceg, man, you got caught. You were winning for a little bit, and then you just left your chin up there a little bit, and you got caught, man. So, yeah, I mean, I guess the order would be to put it this way, as the worst F tier would go down here. So Steve Erceg has to be one of the worst on the card. The worst performances on the card because he left his chin out there, took a step back, but didn't get far enough out of the pocket, and didn't even see the punch coming. That's how fast Kai got in there. So Kai, impressive performance. Steve, yeah, man. Yeesh, that's a rough one. We'll see if he can come back after that one. Dricus du Plessis, the champion. We're going to go A tier for him. Ended up getting the finish on Adesanya in a fight. Personally, I thought he was down 2-1 heading into the championship rounds. I think he would have won round 4 had he not got it in the finish, and one of them needed to win the final round. But surprisingly enough, if he had won round 4 with that little onslaught at the end that he was able to get the finish in, he would have won on the judges' scorecards anyway, which is crazy because the judges had him up 2-1 heading into the championship rounds, which is kind of crazy. But his striking looked pretty good early on, was able to outstrike Adesanya at certain times, almost submit him, I believe, in round 2 as well, and finally submit him at the end. Submit a guy that's never been submitted. I know he looks sloppy in there. He got caught with some shots. He was face planting, going for takedowns and all that, but in the end, he got the finish, submitted a guy that has never been submitted, and it's an impressive performance for Dricus du Plessis. Jan Blachowicz couldn't submit him. Sean Strickland couldn't submit him. Alex Pereira obviously could not submit him. Dricus did. Dricus finished him, and he finished him faster than Alex Pereira did as well. He's the fastest person to finish Israel Adesanya in the history of the UFC. But is it more impressive than Kai or Carlos Prates? No, come on, guys. Those guys looked absolutely amazing out there. Walter Walker. Let's go D tier. I don't like it, man. I mean, you're until the ending where you were able to actually get the submission, verbal submission, you were just holding on. You weren't letting ground and pound. You're just holding and really not doing much of anything. And then eventually went for that heel hook. And, you almost got knocked out earlier on in the round as well. It wasn't a very impressive performance. Only thing you did good was go for that heel hook, obviously. But for the most part before that, you were making it really, really boring, and he almost got knocked out. So I don't like his performance. I would put him at D tier there. And I'm going to be honest, even though he won, I'm just kidding. I'll have him above the guys that lost, at least, because at least he was able to go out there and get the win. Mateusz Gamrot. I don't know if it's more of a Dan Hooker just had an amazing, amazing performance, or Gamrot had a really, really bad performance. But Gamrot had his moments. He had it really, really close. And I think because of how fun of a fight it was, he had a better performance than Walter Walker. Gamrot had his moments in round one, cutting up Dan, damaged Dan's face a little bit, had some good moments on the feet as well, and kept it really, really even. So I'll have him at high D tier. If he was able to edge it out on the scorecards, I'd probably have him high C tier, maybe B tier, but didn't get the nod. He was outstruck by a lot on the feet. He was getting caught in guillotines by Dan Hooker and things like that, which, Dan's not a grappler, and you're getting caught with guillotines and getting reversed. Dan's getting on top of you. You can't be doing that if you are such a good wrestler and grappler like you are, and you're letting Dan Hooker do that type of stuff. So speaking of Dan Hooker, amazing, amazing performance. We're going to go B tier, mainly because it was a split decision. It was so close, and he didn't get the finish. So it's close to the finish, which is why we're not going to have him at like C tier or anything like that. But it was a fight of the night performance. It was an absolute war. He knocked down Gamrot in round number 1, outstruck him in the round 2, round 3. Looked absolutely amazing. Made the fight look absolutely amazing. So he's definitely going to be my number 1 B tier. Luana Santos, she's going to go with, it wasn't worse than Ricardo Ramos. See, I'm messing up the order. Josh Culibao was a little bit better than Ramos. Steve Erceg had to have been worse. Erceg has to be the worst, so he's got to be there. And Luana Santos got to be here. I did not like her performance, so this would be the worst performance of the night. Steve Erceg got knocked out badly. Second worst so far is going to be Luana Santos. It was not a good performance at all. For a girl that was out there supposed to win, she was the favorite coming in. I predicted Casey O'Neill by unanimous decision. Nobody else was kind of on that train. But me, I was on that underdog for a while. But everyone was saying Luana Santos, and Luana got destroyed. She got outstruck. She got out-grappled. She got out-wrestled. She got out everything by Casey O'Neill. That's why we're going to have her so low, because she had no real moments where she was the one winning the fight. So she's going to have the second worst performance so far of this UFC 305 pay-per-view. Jack Jenkins, we're going to have him A tier. Amazing, amazing performance. I'm going to say better than Dricus. A little bit better than Dricus. Dricus was able to get the TK, or get the submission on Adesanya. Jack was able to get the TKO, but Jack had 2 knockdowns. He really didn't look like he was ever in trouble or anything like that. He didn't get hurt on the feet. He didn't look gassed out like Dricus did, so a little bit better than Dricus, but not S tier like Kai or Carlos Prates. If there were like 3 performance of the night bonuses, I think Jack might be one of them, to be honest with you. Li Jingliang, not going to be an F tier. I know he got absolutely dominated, but he showed crazy heart. He came up from like every single one of those knockdowns and came right back at his opponent. I think his performance was definitely worse than Mateusz Gamrot, in my opinion. So he's going to be our worst D tier right there. In the UFC welterweight division, wasn't a great performance at all, but he showed heart, and he showed his ability to get up from those knockdowns and keep pushing forward, but he just got absolutely destroyed, so we're going to have him D tier there. Junior Tafa, I don't know. That was just, he had his moment where he almost got the knockout, and then he verbally tapped when, you don't have to do that. Like, why are you verbally tapping, I would say his performance was barely better than like Tai Tuivasa, but it was a little bit worse than Israel Adesanya. So we're gonna have D tier for Junior Tafa right there in the UFC's heavyweight division. Not a horrible performance like Erceg or Luana Santos or these two not really making a stamp on round number 3 again. Realistically, I should probably have these guys in a higher tier, to be honest with you, but I'm not gonna, for the principle of it. Alex Reyes was a pretty shit performance as well. Wasn't like absolutely horrible, so he's gonna be F tier, but it's not gonna be as bad as some of these people here. Herbert Burns, that was bad. That was freaking bad. We're gonna put him as even worse than Luana Santos. He, just like Luana Santos, got dominated absolutely everywhere that fight went and got absolutely destroyed. Jesus Aguilar was getting dominated going into that fight. Early round number 1, got his back taken. Submission attempts from Stuart Nickel. Got ground and pounded a little bit. Then he got the guillotine, which was really, really nice. So finishing an undefeated guy always is going to put you high on the list right there. I think Dan's was a little bit better for performance because of how good the fight was. But Jesus was losing. Then he came back and got the finish. So we're going to have him B tier right there. Stuart Nickel, I mean, he ruined it. He ruined it. He was looking so good. Went in, head up high with the neck open, out for the taking. And, well, his opponent snatched it and submitted him in the fight. So we're going to have Stuart Nickel. Let's think. Where should we have Stuart Nickel at? Wasn't as bad of a performance as Li Jingliang. Wasn't as bad as... See, I'm gonna have to change Gamrot. Gamrot was not as bad as Walter Walker. Even though Walter won, I know that's kind of crazy. But I think Gamrot had a better performance than these guys. So I'm going to put Gamrot here with Israel Adesanya. And I'm going to put Stuart Nickel as having a worse performance than all of these guys right here. So we're going to have Stuart Nickel pretty low on the list right there. In the D tier for getting finished. Casey O'Neill, we're going automatic A tier, ladies and gentlemen. Domination. She's going to go above Drickus as well, but not higher than Jack because she wasn't able to get that submission in round number 3. Jack was able to get the finish. So Casey O'Neill as the dog, dominating for that 30-27. And even a 30-26 on one of the scorecards. Kind of crazy. We're going to have her in A tier. Ricky Glenn got absolutely dominated. Alex Reyes a little bit better. A little bit better moments in that fight, so we're going to put Alex Reyes right. A little bit better performance than Ricky Glenn, but Ricky got absolutely dominated, so F tier, they all go. And Kenan Song, very dominant performance. A little bit better than Tom Nolan and just a little bit better than Jairzinho Rozenstruik, so we'll have him at C tier. So our F tiers, ladies and gentlemen, we got Ricardo Ramos and Josh Culibao for not doing anything in round 3 to really try to get the win. If you know it's close, go for the finish. Try to make a stamp on the round. Try to land some elbows, some ground and pound. Do something to help you get the win and not make it a nail-biting split decision, which it was, and you got to put a stamp on that one. So realistically, I'd probably put Ricardo Ramos in C tier or Josh Culibao in D tier, but I gotta say it for the principle. Alex Reyes is an F tier, got dominated. Ricky Glenn in F tier, he got dominated. Luana Santos in F tier, she got dominated. Same for Herbert Burns. And the worst performance of the night, Steve Erceg, for getting knocked out as fast and as badly as he did. Knocked down twice and put out in round number 1. That's the fastest anyone really got finished in this entire card, so gotta be there in my opinion. Maybe Jesus Aguilar finished Jesus, so finish Nickel a little bit faster, but yeah, I mean, at least Nickel was having some success before then. So then we do have, for a bad performance in D tier, Li Jingliang got dominated and knocked out. Nickel had a good start, then he got finished. Walter Walker just absolutely boring on top of the wrestling and grappling. Almost got knocked out and only won because of a verbal submission. He's going to be low for me there. Ty, D tier, because he had his moments. He was trying to get the finish. He was pushing forward, but just got dominated again. Lost every round in my opinion, so it's got to be D tier. Junior Tafa, what are you doing? Let's flip those. Because I obviously Junior Tafa should be a worse performance than Walter Walker, so we'll put them next to each other right there. Gamrot for, I mean, he was getting caught in guillotines. He was getting outstruck on the feet. He got knocked down in the fight, and I think he almost got reversed one time by Dan Hooker, so not a great performance at all. And Adesanya also not a great performance at all. In the UFC middleweight division, gave his back up way too many times, getting caught by the blitz of Du Plessis way too many times, so yeah, he's got to be D tier. For C tier, a lot of guys that had good performances, 30-27, solid unanimous decisions. Kenan Sung, I know Jairzinho wasn't a unanimous one, but it should have been. And Tom Nolan right there for C tier. They all look good. They just weren't able to get the finish, and they weren't able to get the stamp that they needed to on the fight to be a little bit higher. So C tier for them. Jesus with the finish. Dan Hooker with the fight of the night. They're going B tier. For sure right there. Dricus with the submission. Casey O'Neill with the domination. Jack Jenkins with the domination and TKO. All are going to be A tier. And then, of course, the S tier. Best performances of the card. Carlos Prates and Kai Kara-France. Some amazing performances there in the UFC 305 pay-per-view. So thank you guys for watching. If you like this card, I definitely know I did. So comment down below what your favorite fight was, what your best performance was. I think it's Carlos Prates. And number 2 is going to be Kai. But thank you guys for watching. We'll see you in the next one.